9 tomato companion plants actually worth growing. Hi there, fellow plant lovers. Welcome back to Earthly Delights, where your windowsills, patios, and backyard beds come to life, one plant at a time. If you're someone who finds peace in pruning leaves, who smiles when you see a new sprout, or who's turned a tiny corner of your home into a green sanctuary, you're in the right place. Now, let me ask you, have you ever poured your heart into growing tomatoes, only to face yellowing leaves, stubborn pests, or disappointing harvests? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into a timeless but often misunderstood technique, companion planting. Stick with me, because I'm about to reveal 9 powerful plants that can completely transform how your tomatoes grow, whether you're in a backyard garden or a sunny apartment window. If you find value in earthy, practical plant wisdom like this, go ahead and subscribe to Earthly Delights. Your garden journey is just getting started. 1. Nasturtiums, the colorful shield. Let's begin with a plant that's as practical as it is beautiful, nasturtiums. If you've never grown them before, you're in for a treat. These trailing blooms come in vibrant shades of orange, yellow, and red, and while they may look delicate, they play one of the toughest roles in your tomato garden. Nasturtiums are what gardeners call trap crops. That means they willingly take the hit for your tomatoes by attracting pests like aphids, whiteflies, and even flea beetles away from your precious fruit. But don't think of it as sacrifice. Think of it as strategy. It's like hiring a colorful bodyguard that also makes your garden prettier. You can let them spill out of containers, dangle from hanging pots near your tomato vines, or grow them right at the edges of your raised beds. Either way, their job is clear. Intercept trouble before it touches your tomatoes. And here's a bonus, they're edible too. Peppery and bright, their leaves and flowers can add a kick to your salads. Now, ready to meet your next garden ally? Let's move to a tiny flower with mighty impact. 2. Sweet alyssum, the silent defender. Now that nasturtiums have caught our attention with their vibrant colors and bravery, let's talk about a quieter, more delicate presence in the garden, sweet alyssum. It's the kind of plant that might not shout for attention, but once you get to know it, you'll want it everywhere. Sweet alyssum forms a low, blooming carpet of tiny white or lavender flowers. And while it may seem like it's just there for looks, it's actually a magnet for one of your garden's most valuable allies, hoverflies. These tiny pollinators look like little bees, but their larvae are fierce predators, especially against aphids, one of the biggest threats to tomato plants. What makes alyssum especially magical for indoor or container gardeners is how well it fits into tight spaces. You can tuck it around the base of your tomato pots, or plant it along the corners of a raised bed. It stays low, it keeps blooming from spring through fall, and it never demands too much. It's quiet, it's elegant, and it's always working behind the scenes. So while nasturtiums stand tall and take the hits, sweet alyssum whispers to the helpers and brings them home. Let's keep going. Our next companion is bright, bold, and full of surprises. 3. Marigolds, the bright bodyguard. From the soft whispers of alyssum, we now turn to something bolder, marigolds. These fiery little flowers don't just light up your garden with rich oranges and sunny yellows. They protect it with an almost legendary reputation. For generations, gardeners have trusted marigolds to guard their tomatoes. And with good reason. Marigolds release natural compounds into the soil that help repel nematodes, microscopic worms that silently attack tomato roots. But their defense doesn't stop underground. Above the surface, marigolds deter aphids, whiteflies, and even slugs. It's like posting a bright, "Do not enter" sign right next to your tomatoes. What's wonderful is how easily they fit into any setup. Whether you're growing in a balcony box, a 5-gallon bucket, or a full backyard bed, marigolds adapt and thrive. Their scent is strong and distinct, but it's exactly that aroma that turns away many common pests. And the best part? They bloom like they mean it. These flowers don't just help your tomatoes, they lift the entire look of your space. Think of them as both armor and art. Coming up next is a lesser known but surprisingly powerful plant that not only protects, but improves the very flavor of your tomatoes. Let's meet Borage. 4. Borage, the soil booster and bug lure. After the show-stopping strength of marigolds, it's time to explore a plant that brings both beauty and subtle brilliance, borage. with its star-shaped blue flowers and fuzzy stems. Borage might look like a whimsical wildflower, but it's a true multitasker in the tomato patch. One of the most fascinating things about borage is its ability to enhance the flavor of nearby tomatoes. While it may sound like gardening folklore, many seasoned growers swear that tomatoes grown beside borage taste sweeter, richer, almost sun-kissed. And that's not all. Borage is also a magnet for pollinators and beneficial insects like bees and predatory wasps. It draws them in and keeps them circling your garden, ensuring better fruit production and fewer pests. Even the dreaded tomato hornworm seems to prefer borage, making it a natural decoy when planted nearby. Its deep roots help break up compacted soil and bring trace minerals closer to the surface, perfect for improving tired, overworked garden beds or rejuvenating indoor containers. If you're after a companion that works above and below ground, one that adds beauty, biodiversity, and a touch of magic to your tomato journey, borage may just be your new best friend. Now let's shift from protection to nutrition, and meet a humble hero that literally feeds the soil beneath your tomatoes. 5. Field peas and beans, the nitrogen makers. Now that we've explored how borage can sweeten the taste and invite pollinators, let's dig deeper, literally, into the soil beneath your tomatoes. Because as any seasoned gardener will tell you, healthy roots begin with healthy earth, and that's where field peas and beans quietly shine. These humble legumes aren't just food crops, they're natural nitrogen fixers. With the help of beneficial soil bacteria, they take nitrogen from the air and lock it into the soil, exactly what your hungry tomato plants crave. Think of it as creating a slow-release fertilizer, organically, from the ground up. Here's the trick. Plant your peas or beans early in the season. Before your tomatoes go in, let them grow until just before they flower. Then chop them at the base and leave the roots in the ground. As they decompose, they feed the soil, and the nutrients are right there waiting for your tomatoes. Even if you garden in a small space or containers, this method still works. Use bush beans in pots or raised beds. Grow them once, and your tomatoes will thank you all summer long. So while peas and beans may not bloom with dramatic flair, they give your soil the quiet strength to support bigger, better tomato harvests. Now, let's move on to a lesser-known legume that's perfect for balcony gardens and tight spaces. Meet fenugreek. 6. Fenugreek, the indoor gardener's ally. After celebrating the soil-enriching magic of peas and beans, let's take a step into smaller spaces, windowsills, balconies, and cozy patios, because even in tight quarters, your tomatoes deserve a strong companion. Enter fenugreek, a gentle yet powerful plant that's been quietly helping home gardeners for centuries. Fenugreek is a fast-growing legume that doesn't ask for much, just a bit of sun, a shallow pot, and a splash of water. But in return, it offers a treasure trove of benefits. Like its legume cousins, fenugreek helps fix nitrogen in the soil, giving your tomatoes a natural boost without synthetic fertilizers. But what makes fenugreek a standout for indoor gardeners is its compact nature. It fits snugly around the base of potted tomatoes, creating a living mulch that helps retain moisture and shade the roots. And as a bonus, you can harvest the leaves for cooking, adding an aromatic, slightly nutty flavor to your dishes. Whether you're growing on a city balcony or a sunny kitchen ledge, fenugreek proves that even small companions can make a big difference. And speaking of small powerhouses, our next plant doesn't just improve your soil, it calls in an entire army of tiny garden heroes. Let's meet the mighty Yarrow. 7. Yarrow, the insect hotel. From the quiet grace of fenugreek, we now turn to a plant that knows how to rally the troops, Yarrow. If your tomatoes are constantly under siege from aphids, caterpillars, or other tiny invaders, Yarrow might just be the backup you've been waiting for. This feathery-leaved perennial is more than just a pretty flower. It acts like a magnet for beneficial insects, ladybugs, lacewings, parasitic wasps, the kind of allies that feast on the very pests troubling your tomatoes. Yarrow doesn't just attract them, it gives them a place to settle, lay eggs, and stay a while. In many ways, it turns your garden into a living, breathing ecosystem. It's also incredibly resilient, drought-tolerant, low-maintenance, and hardy through heat waves. Yarrow thrives in conditions where other flowers might fade. That makes it perfect not only for garden beds but also for containers and borders in tough climates or low water setups. And here's something special. Yarrow's roots grow deep, helping break up compacted soil and improve drainage, especially useful for pots that tend to get heavy and dense. So if you're looking to build not just a tomato patch but a thriving community, Yarrow helps bring the right kind of guests. Next, let's step into a world of color, healing, and multifunctional beauty. Say hello to Calendula. 8. Calendula, the beauty with a job. From the wild energy of Yarrow, we now meet a plant that blends elegance with purpose, Calendula. Often mistaken for just another cheerful flower, Calendula has been quietly earning its place in smart gardens for centuries. But make no mistake, this golden bloom isn't just for show. Calendula does double duty in your tomato setup. On the one hand, it attracts beneficial insects, those helpful pollinators and predators we've been talking about. On the other, it acts like a soft trap crop, gently luring aphids and thrips away from your tomatoes without drawing too much attention to itself. And its talents go beyond the garden bed. Calendula petals are edible, anti-inflammatory, and soothing, used in everything from herbal teas to homemade salves. So as it protects your tomatoes, it also offers healing for you. This makes Calendula a favorite for gardeners who crave beauty with meaning. You can plant it between tomato containers or around the edges of raised beds. Its low-fuss, high-reward nature makes it a must-have for anyone growing with intention. With just one more companion left, we're about to meet a plant that thrives on neglect, yet gives back in brilliant, unexpected ways. Let's meet the cosmic charm of Cosmos. 9. Cosmos, the effortless charmer. And now, we arrive at our final companion, Cosmos, the laid-back artist of the garden. If all the other plants we've met so far are diligent workers and defenders, Cosmos is the free spirit. It sways in the breeze, blooms in soft pastels and vibrant pinks, and quietly transforms the mood of any space it's in. But don't let its relaxed nature fool you. Cosmos brings real value to your tomatoes. What Cosmos does best is attract pollinators, bees, butterflies, hoverflies, drawing them in with its abundant nectar and open blooms. These visitors don't just stick to the Cosmos, they carry their magic right over to your tomatoes, improving fruit set and overall plant vitality. It's also one of the easiest flowers to grow. Cosmos tolerates poor soil, thrives on minimal care, and blooms generously even when you forget about it. For busy gardeners or those just starting out, Cosmos is the kind of plant that makes you feel successful. While it's best grown a bit farther from tomatoes to avoid competition for nutrients, it shines along the borders of garden beds or at the edges of a patio setup. It adds height, color, and a gentle hum of life to the garden. And just like that, our cast of companions is complete. But before we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on what they all bring together. Your tomatoes' best friends are waiting. So here we are, 9 companions, each with a unique gift, each playing a role in something much bigger than themselves. Together, they turn a tomato patch into a vibrant, resilient, and living ecosystem. Whether it's nasturtiums shielding your plants, peas feeding your soil, or Cosmos inviting pollinators from above, each one tells a story of balance, of support, of quiet magic happening just beneath the surface. And maybe, that's the deeper lesson for all of us who love growing things. Plants, like people, thrive when they're surrounded by the right energy. It's not about perfection, it's about partnership. Even if your space is small, even if you're new to gardening, these companions remind us that you don't have to grow alone. Your tomatoes don't need to either. So, which of these 9 will you welcome into your garden first? Let me know in the comments. And if today's journey inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights. Together, we'll keep growing smarter, deeper, and more beautifully with every season. See you in the next video. Until then, happy growing.